Good morning. Hang on 1 minute. Trying to get situated here. I've got all kinds of reverb on my microphone again. I don't know what it is. It's like every time now I get on the computer and with my phone, my microphone wants to do very weird things. I'm trying to get situated. I have a crazy bun going on in my hair. I wish I could take the laptop and turn it vertical instead of horizontal, but it is what it is. There we go. I'll just sit back a little bit. Good morning. How is everybody? Big thanks to TikTok. I've got TikTok up here. I've got my YouTube up here doing the dual screen thing. Have all the comments turned off. I apologize. It's very distracting when you're trying to give a message, talk about something, and then people are just adding nonsense that has nothing to do with the conversation that I'm trying to have. Threw my hair in a bun this morning. This was a fluke. It never looks this messy good. Got my little moo outfit on. Gonna run to the kids' house later on. Drove by it the other day. Issue with the gas line. They had a big hole in his front lawn and a bunch of tree limbs. But I've been walking around the house this morning singing the Three's Company's song, the theme. Come and knock on my door. It's just crazy because this outfit. Okay, this is a skirt, and this is like real superficial before I even get into what I want to talk about. But this is actually a skirt, and because it's so long, I can wear it as like a tube dress. Again, I feel like I'm Mrs. Roper this morning, and I should be on some veranda on some beach drinking a Bloody Mary. And if YouTube didn't, but TikTok did, you saw me making my salsa yesterday with my Bloody Mary mix. Let me tell you, it was so good. I'm going to take some to the kid today. I had all these jars of sauce that I had made from, all the garden and everything. So I said to the kid last night when we were kind of texting back and forth, I said, "Do you want some sauce? I have some homemade sauce from the garden." And he's like, "Spaghetti sauce?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "And I've got some salsa too." That salsa was so spicy, my lips burned, I think, for an hour. Not like what Carolina Reaper kind of hot, but I mean, it had a good sting. It was good. So, and then last night I made my eggplant parmesan like I wanted to, and I ate really late, which I don't like to do. Streaming some crazy, crazy things again, but I slept all night long. The dogs wanted to get me up about 6:30. Would have loved to have slept about another hour long. I'm trying to catch up on everything. I need to flip the mattress on my bed. I need to take still the curtains all down and wash them. And I was thinking this morning, although I'm trying to go back to work for an entity, again, this reverb, it bothers me. I'm trying to go back to work for another entity. I really understand why people like to be retired. I could be a piddler. I could be a professional piddler. Walk around my house, pick things up, clean it, do some laundry, cook something, throw myself together. If the weather cools down a little bit, I will get back into walking. I think that's the best thing that would be for my back. Although I did lay in the pool yesterday for an hour and a half, and it was lovely. The setup I have out in my little pool, I took the chair out and I've got one of those. It's a pillow that goes under your neck and then it goes under your knees, and then there's mesh in between, and your back can kind of sink. So it was just really, really lovely. But anyway, I totally understand why people like to retire. where they don't have to listen to anybody. They can just kind of do their own little routine. But I am not allowed to retire, not for a long time. And again, because of TikTok now, being able to be monetized for my content, being able to offer my services to anybody who is interested. I teach a variety of art and communication classes. YouTube, you know who I am. Kitryn Marie, an artist, writer, speaker, life and business coach, reside in St. Louis, Missouri. I teach art classes. I teach communication classes that help better your life. My big disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, not a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. Don't even play one on TV, although I know I could if the role was offered. Studied a whole bunch of things. I always feel like I want to reiterate all of this because I know there are so many different critics that are out there that are like, that's not who you are. That's not what you do. Well, I'm sorry, you don't live in my house. You haven't really seen my bank account, and you don't really know all of the schooling that I have taken. Do I have any big degrees? No, I don't. But I've got a bunch of experience from all the things that I have studied, all the lessons that I have personally learned, and I have learned how to turn that around and teach certain elements. I will be teaching at the community college. So apparently I have some credentials because they said, yes, we want you. So somewhere between end of January into March, I'm going to be teaching creative painting lessons, how to put a vision board together based in life coaching, and which is a cut and paste art project with a lot of communication and open dialogue. And I'm going to be teaching how to write a book, considering, I'm a published author. When He Had Her, available on Amazon for all of you critics. Oh, us girls, we don't let the grass grow underneath our feet. You can take the class at the community college. I believe the class, if you take it through them, is going to be around $125, $150. If you book privately, the painting class is a group. I charge $48 a person, and I know I sound like a broken record, but this is part of the marketing, and if you don't like any of this, just scroll on by till we get to the actual message of this morning. But my group painting classes are $48 a person. I bring all the supplies. You must have a minimum of 11. The college course, it's $125. You bring all your own supplies. So you use your logic there. You can take a business coaching. Maybe you have an idea. Maybe you want to start a side hustle. Well, I believe in the multi-stream income. In order to survive in this world right now, we need dual incomes, even if it is tipped-based incomes, in order to survive in this world. My business coaching, it's a class. Take what you need. Pick my brain. Ask me questions. Let's put that business plan together. It's $95. Can go 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, depending on what it is that you have in your brain that you've come up with that you want to start this side hustle. Or maybe you want to lean out of 9 to 5 because I think corporate is about done. I honestly believe. I believe the influencer market is done. I believe corporate is going to take a huge dive by the end of 2027, and we all need to be prepared. What else do I teach? Oh, how to write a book. Maybe you have a story. Maybe there's things you want to get into a book. $65. Take what you need, leave what you don't. We can talk about your character development. We can talk about your who, your what, your why, the consequence of the plot. In your book, we can talk about building characters. What's your story based on? What's the niche? Is it a mystery? Is it a romance? Is it, a biography? Is it an autobiography? Maybe you want to write a cookbook. I've thought about that forever. I have all my grandma's recipes in my brain. I think my brain's on overload, though, right now with all that I'm having to deal with. But these are classes, that I teach. These are classes that the community college has said, hey, we see you have credentials. We see you have studied communications, theater, journalism, graphic art, fine art, life coaching, business coaching. You can learn a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have to do just one thing. We don't live in that kind of a world anymore. It's great to be good at one thing, but if that one thing plummets, then what the hell are you going to do? I've said that for a million years, but what do I know? Nobody listens to me. Again, oh, us girls who think we're, so into ourselves. No, oh, us girls have studied and learned how to put a business together with nothing. So that's all the promo kind of stuff. You can email me, kitrynmarie@gmail.com. Leave a comment after all the videos are done. But let me get situated because there's a few things that I do want to talk about this morning. We are in a very lonely society right now. Very lonely society. Since 2020, when we were told we needed to isolate and stay away from people and lies. The world is not the same. It has not been the same at all since 2020. So many things that have occurred in our own personal lives, relationships that ended, the struggle financially, the mental part of why can't I do what I want to do, what I know how to do. And then we have loss of jobs. We have the loss of incomes. We've seen the economy completely change. We've seen the housing market turn upside down. We've seen our own inner strengths come out, and we have seen our own shortcomings surface. We are not the same. As much as I always say I want to go back to 1977, I was a junior in high school. Had the whole world, I thought, in front of me. My biggest aspiration, get married, have kids, live in that big house with that white picket fence and a whole bunch of animals. Well, I've had 3 kids. I have a whole bunch of animals, and I'm in a house that is crumbling as we speak because of the economy, because of the job industry that I chose to stay in because it was tip-based till it wasn't tip-based. We are angry. We can't live the life that we want to live. We see it in our mind. That's part of when you put a vision board together. It's not all woo-woo. It's about having a goal and understanding the process that you need to take in order to achieve that end result. You'll hear me talk about my person who's not my person anymore because he was so closed-minded and in tunnel vision. He only saw one way because he was not a innovator thinker and a dreamer and a risk taker. And in order to do anything different in this life, you have to veer out of the box that you are in. It goes back to you can do one thing and you can become the best at that one thing. But if that one thing and the ground shifts and the rug gets pulled out from underneath you and you can't do that one thing, then what will you do? We are a very sad and lonely entity right now. A lot of us have just chosen to stay single because we have regulated our nervous systems. I don't talk about the past too much anymore because the past does not matter. It's who I became out of it. Anybody who survives, a narcissistic, abusive relationship, anybody who survives domestic violence, that's basically what took my mother's life, domestic violence. It wasn't the act in itself, but it was all the things that came after it, that her life ended at the age of 31. Not understanding as a child, being left, being abandoned. Those things all do carry with you. And sadly enough, I had gotten myself into this relationship that demeaned every part of who I was and what I had studied and who I was trying to become. When you are broken, when you have somebody who completely is jealous of who you are, doesn't like your personality, doesn't even want to fathom the education that you have behind because it takes away from who they are. I ended up getting terribly sick. My immune system was down to nothing because of all of the abuse, because of all the betrayal, because of all of the cheating. And by the time I was able to finally just end it, my life was almost at its end. I can remember laying on an operating table, had a multitude of female issues, an incident that my doctors refused to pay attention to. I was laying on an operating table, and I'm thinking, why is this happening to me? This is not the way it was supposed to go. While he was off with his, whatever she was, traveling all over, I was on an operating table, and I thought, from this point on, if I survive, we're changing life. And this is part of the business that I put together, because I know, and you'll hear my voice shake because it is still very upsetting, because the things that I was made to believe that were not true at all. And I know there are so many women out there that are like, what is happening? What is going on? Why can't I justify what is right, what is wrong? Why can't I look at what the reality is, because you're so trauma bonded, and somebody who keeps saying, but I love you, I love you, I love you. And that's not love, it's transactional. So coming out of all of that, when I decided I was going to study life coaching and business coaching, was studying basically under James Wedmore, who was teaching how to put courses together. I don't sell a course, I teach classes. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I know what I've gone through, and I know what it took to get me out of that role. And then by the time my person had come along, trying to justify what was right, what was real, what was wrong, trying to get to a completely different area, trying to take care of his mental health on top of still healing with my own things that I was going through. Writing this book, I'm going to digress just a minute. Writing this book when he had her, it's fiction. It's a fiction book. I had this storyline in my mind for about 10 years. 10 years. I knew that once I sat down to start to write it, it was going to be Pandora's box. Once that lid was open, and I loved writing. Writing has always been my thing. Painting, anything art, and writing has always been my thing. I have a blog that I haven't even paid attention to. And those of you that are trying to figure out what your next move is, start writing, start a journal, start a blog. You don't have to have it published for the world to see. But then again, maybe you do, because you're looking for a validation and you need somebody to say to you, this isn't who you are. Why are you doing this? Why can't you step outside of what you know to become something different? And when you see it in writing, it becomes so real, because the truth, the truth, what lives inside of you, what you've gone through. Try telling somebody what you went through. See how it makes sense to you as those words fall out your mouth. I can't tell you how many times I've told stories, things that have happened, and people they're dumbfounded because they understand how intelligent I am, but they're like, how could you tolerate that? How could you put up with that? Because when you are made to believe the lie, the reality of who you are no longer is. So, writing this book, when it was finally done and out and published, it was one more thing off of my back that I had accomplished, knowing I could do it, So, when we are living in this and I talk with my hands, it's a haphazard of being Italian, I'm so sorry, and being in the food and beverage industry for a million years, I feel like at this point. It's a way of expressing. But we are living in this very lonely and angry society right now. When you got up this morning, what were you angry about? What is it that keeps playing over and over in your head? We talk about limerence, the conversations that haven't been said, the moments that you had planned that did not happen, and you're angry. You're angry because you held yourself back. You're angry because somebody else made a decision that was not based on what was best for you. And I use this as an example, the job I just left. This is nothing personal about the woman. She has her own things going on. But a company gave too much power to one woman. When you have all this control over so many different entities, you lose sight of what the big prize is. Too many decisions, too many irons in a fire, and when you hold tight onto something, you completely lose it. And this one woman decided the way that I was going to make my money. And at this point, we want to talk about being angry. I feel the company in itself owes me $3,000 plus. And that's a small amount of my income that I lost based on this one woman's decision. Needless to say, I'm not at that company. Nobody gets to define how I choose to make my money. And if I am doing my job in the role that I've been hired to do, nobody gets to share my income. They don't. At 65, how many years or more in front of me? And how do I get to choose how I want to survive? I have chosen to teach. So when you got up this morning and you're angry, can you really pinpoint why you're angry? And what would have occurred to you, for you, that has made you so angry? And can you recognize what the anger is? Can you recognize the loss? Are you grieving? Is the anger part of grieving? The older we get, you can't do all the things that you wanted to do physically that you were able to do 30 years ago. I said last week, it took me 3 days to cut my back grass. 3 days. Now, mind you, I'm using a weed eater because the lawnmower has been broken. I finally ditched it. It used to take me 1 day to do the front grass, the back grass, and weed, get in my flowers, do whatever. I can't do it anymore. I'm angry that the body doesn't work like it used to. The brain still works. I have short-term memory. And like I said yesterday, I was looking for a base that fits on my 360 device. For the life of me, I don't know where I put it, and I've turned everything upside down, and it's probably like right in front of my face, but I can't find it. Short-term memory. I get a little aggravated about that. If I don't hang my keys in the exact same spot, I will lose my keys. If I don't hook them on my purse, it's these little things as you get older and addressing why you're so angry. Why? Why are you so lonely? Why have you chosen to isolate yourself? For me, because it's too people-y out there. It is just way too many thoughts and opinions and energy. And when you're dealing in food and beverage and you have a mismatch of people that are working in an environment, and then you were dealing with hundreds of different individuals who will not turn the TV off, get off of their phone. Where was I at? Oh, when I did my liquor demo the other night, every customer, I'll say 97% of the people that were there were all on their phone, scrolling, had it propped up on their cart as they were trying to buy whatever it was that they were. 97%. How often are you on your phone? How often are you endlessly scrolling, keeping you from doing anything physical, from keeping you from taking a walk, taking a class, working in your yard. My garden is beautiful. I just cut two more eggplants off of it this morning. Don't know what I'm going to do with all these eggplants, although I did find that you can make a chocolate cake like you do with zucchini. That's on the list. I'd love to be able to teach a cooking class. That might be in my very near future. But if you think about how lonely you are and how you've isolated yourself, where I live, I'm at the city county line. Too close to the city, not far enough out in the county. I don't want to be in the suburbs. I don't want neighbors. I don't want neighbors. My sister has the setup like I would like. She lives in a small town. Her neighbors are two plots over from where her little farmhouse is. She's got a little wraparound porch with a beautiful little front garden. My sister is very metropolitan, very cosmopolitan. How she ended up in that little town was only because of who she married. That was not who she was. Her and I needed to have flipped roles, other than the fact that sadly her husband took his life, which is not my story to tell. My home, where I am, I'm too close to the city. I am too close to the metropolitan area. So it's a mixed bag of human beings, mostly that I don't want to be surrounded by. Not that I don't like people, not that I cannot be the best of whatever in the right surrounding, but when you know the environment that you are in is keeping you just to yourself, and by the time you get home, you are just mentally devastated from seeing the different mixed bags of individuals. And it goes back to the other day when I was doing my liquor demo. I do like talking to people. I can talk you to death. I can force feed you. I promise you that. But I'm looking at how people are dressed. I'm looking at their weight. And it's not because I'm judging. I'm looking at how they are presenting themselves in public. Now I'm at home. I have myself together. I will go out later on, but I take pride in how I look. I take pride in how I come online. You have a responsibility when you are speaking in front of different people. Could I talk on stage? Yeah. Do I have a fear of speaking in public? No. Okay, my back yesterday kind of went out again. Hang on. And that's the other reason leaving the last job. I got hurt on the job and just didn't say anything to anybody. But I'm, watching people, and I'm watching how people are interacting, and you're going home, and then what are you doing? You're laying on the couch, you're scrolling through your phone, you're watching endless TV just to dull and dumb down the noise in your head. We're a lonely society, and we need to surround ourselves with the correct environment in order for any of us to thrive. Those are things I talk about. Those are things that I teach. Here's something else too. Because we've become so public online, and a million people think they're content creators, are able to, come online and moan and groan and rant, because that's what we do when we have real people in front of us. That is the human conditioning. We converse, we banter, we vent. And because we've become such a lonely society, and we have forgotten the filter that comes with, there are some things you just don't say. There's a responsibility when you are trying to inspire and educate. And if you choose to influence, what is it exactly you are trying to influence? As far as like the selling market, in order to sell, somebody has to buy. And in order for somebody to buy, they must have money to do so. Yesterday, I got caught in my feed how all of these affiliate marketers and influencers, they're moaning and groaning, they've lost revenue. Well, if they've lost revenue because they can't sell a product, think about the people who have lost revenue in their jobs. Think about the people who really would like to buy something because they need it, but they can't afford it. So one affiliate, she had said 1 month she had made $15,000. If I could have reached through my phone, I would have slapped her. I just want to make $3,200 a month. The entity that I was leaving, I was lucky if I was making $1,000 a month. Can't pay mortgage, can't pay car payments, can't make utilities on that. But these influencers and then these affiliates understand who your market is and what is really happening. And how about let's take that influence part of who you are and let's try to educate and become educated on what is really happening in the world. And are we really all concerned why Jelly Roll and Bunny have gotten a divorce? I love Bunny. Nothing against her at all. I could be her neighbor. She's all about farm animals and farming their past. Everybody's got a past. And as far as he's concerned, he's come a long way. But do we really want to invest our time and energy in celebrities that live a completely different lifestyle than who we are? Who's the other one? That Dalton guy and whatever he's going through, somebody get him some professional help. We just saw this whole thing with Perez Hilton. We've become a very lonely society where we don't know how to make friends in real time. And then the people that we do know who have not evolved, who have not seen growth within their life since 1984, we question intelligence. We question how isolated mentally have you become that you have become so comfortable in a lifestyle that no longer exists. I talk about and I teach these things in any of my classes, whether you're taking a painting class and we are talking about perception and perspective, color theory, how to move the paint, how to get out of the logical side of your brain so the creative side makes life just look a little bit easier. When we're talking about the vision board class, we're talking about the 5 entities that are important to you. Family, faith, career, travel, hobbies, animals. You tell me what's important. Finance, you can't take it with you, but how are you building your wealth now in your current situation just to make ends meet? Things, again, I teach. And I just think we are a lonely, we are an angry society, we are an empty society. We're all longing for something, and we don't know how to reach out to get the help and the connectedness that we need in this life. I'd love to hear from you. You can send me an email at kitrynmarie@gmail.com. You can leave a comment after this is all over. Understanding who you are and what you bring to whatever entity that you decide to be in. Again, I'm going to change the subject real quick. Was listening to Mike Rowe yesterday, the Dirty Jobs guy. I thought I heard him say Chase Bank is backing his education, his schooling that he is trying to get going for individuals who want to learn the trade. For every, and I'm quoting what I heard from him. This isn't anything that I went down a rabbit hole on, but because mostly I date construction type people. In the next year, 2027, for every 5 boomers that retire out of the trade, there will only be 2 skilled individuals that will have to fill the role for those 5 boomers who are retiring. All us boomers, we're trying to hang on to the very end. Sorry, kids, if that bothers you. If we retire, our lives are no longer, it's not going to make society better for you. China right now is in need for 100,000 electricians. The infrastructure that they have coming up. Now, with those electricians will also be your plumbers, will also be your iron workers, will also be your pipe fitters. I'm trying to think of all the trades: concrete, pipe fitters, welders. There is such a shortage of welders. Mike Rowe is opening up the school that Chase is backing. We see so many in society that are without jobs, and these young individuals who do not have a direction because there's nobody showing them what else there is out there. It is a physical labor. Most of these youngins that I have seen, they don't want the physical part of life. They want to be able to go into their job. They want to be able to make all the money in the world. They want to use their influence. They want to use their looks. They want to use whatever superficial thing that they have to work less, but to make all this kinds of money. If you do not have skilled laborers, infrastructure is never going to be built, and your city, your state will never, ever go forward. And although we've all got, mixed emotions about AI, you have to stop and think, who's building all of these data centers, and how many jobs is it providing for those skilled individuals who are right now carrying all kinds of licenses that are sitting on their ass or sitting in some bar moaning and groaning why they can't get work? You need to stop and think about, what is your skill? What is your trade? And no matter what your older age is, how are you lending that intelligence to a community that needs what you have? Jokingly, and I'm going to flip the script now here, jokingly to my person, because he was a plumber by trade, also military. I say 15 years, it wasn't 15 years, but to me, when he was talking, it seemed like 15 years, forever. The things that he learned and the things that he was carrying with him, and where he works now, and always me saying, well, what about what's on the other side? What about if we do this? How can you take that trade? How can you take that skill? Because at some point, your body's going to give out. At some point, you're a workaholic. You're going to have to do something else. Jokingly, I would come up with, well, let's do the horse ranch thing. Because I'm thinking, okay, you need water, you need pipes, you need a well, all those things that I knew he was capable of doing, all those things I knew he was capable of hiring crew. Then the other thing was the RV thing. We could do an RV park, a small one. You have to have water set up. We could have a laundromat, all these things. You got to stop and think. Now, mind you, I'm really creative, and I think some things right off the top of my head. And although I do a deep dive once I come up with it, because I thought, what about an overnight horse camp for people that were traveling on the road? And here in Missouri, there's not that many of them. Again, whatever the skill, whatever the trade is that your person, your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever they are skilled to do, you have to stop and think outside of the box. Whatever it is that you're doing now, that's all fine and good and great. But what happens when the body gives out, the mind says, okay, it's not matching with the physical part. What else can I do with what I know how in the skills that you have? Go find that Mike Rowe interview with Jack Ryan, the podcaster. I listened to that thing twice yesterday. We have a whole younger generation that is clueless to how this society will work once we're all gone. And if you are not skilled and educated in any craft, and you are not learning something new, you're wasting your life and you're wasting your time. But I am Kitryn Marie. I'm an artist, writer, speaker, life and a business coach. I reside in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm going to go leave my house today, go see my kid's new house, figure out what's going on with him. Very excited and very proud that he was able to buy this house, as I am continuing to strive to do the things that I know how to do, and that's to teach art and communication classes. It's not all frivolous, because once you figure out the missing puzzle pieces in your life, it very much makes sense of all the patterns that you have continued to live in your life. If you're interested in any of my classes, again, go over to kitryn-marie.weebly.com. You can see all of my information. If you're interested in any of my merchandise that I have from my KM Designs line, go over to kitryn-marie.printify.me. If you want to reach out, you can send me an email at kitrynmarie@gmail.com. If you are interested in my book, When He Had Her, it is a light psych thriller. It is available on Amazon. For today, for tomorrow, be happy, be blessed, be thankful for everything. Remember, fate turns on a dime. And it's up to you to decide what side of that coin you want to be on. Flip the coin. Get out of tunnel vision. Look to see what else is in this life for you. Understand your triggers. Understand why you're so angry. Understand why you are lonely and why you have isolated yourself. Think about your own behaviors. Think about when you really needed something and you had no other way but to ask for help. And then somebody pulled the rug out from underneath you because they could not understand really what is on that other side. But y'all take care. Enjoy your day. It's going to be hot here in St. Louis all week long. Please bring your pets in. Post all the content. Think about who you are. Think about your skill. Think about your intelligence. Nobody can take that away from you. And once you learn something, nobody can take it away. Y'all take care, and I will see you real soon. Now to end all this. But you too. Y'all take care, and I'll try to come back on later on. If my kid lets me take pictures of his house, I might do that. See you later. Bye.